Shall we begin? Let's begin.
Come on. You have seen this documentary. And if you have not, this is the talk of the town, people. This documentary by Netflix is absolutely batshit insane. And I'm talking about that Tiger King, Joe Exotic. Boy, was this a crazy documentary. And man, Netflix knows how to do it. Netflix knows how to find a crazy story and make it into a great documentary series. There's so much that's going on in this Tiger King. It's like you can't really fully explain it. It's better to read or even watch it yourself, because the way I explain it, it's nowhere near how much insanity while watching it. You know, there's 3 cast of characters in here that stand out. So this is going to be a spoiler review. This is a discussion of the Tiger King, the Joe Exotica documentary. Joe is one of that cast of characters, and he is absolutely batshit crazy. It's crazy too, because when you're watching this, you kind of feel sorry for him because everybody's ganging up on him at the end. But then towards the end, when you find out what he does to these animals, when you find out his master plan going after Carol, he deserves everything he gets. And him right now at this moment trying to sue everybody for $90 million, this motherfucker ain't gonna win. But I gotta say, man, this guy is very ambitious. It's just he's a lunatic. Honestly, he's a lunatic. And Cardi B, you're a lunatic too, even though I like a couple of your songs. So there's Joe, there's Carol Baskins, which everybody hates, and especially me. And I'll give you a reason why I do not like her. There's also Doc Antle. I mean, this is not their full names, but I know him as Doc. And this guy's gonna get his comeuppance, because watching this series, boy, you could just see that he's definitely hiding something. You could see that even though he's worked in Hollywood, he's like one of those kind of Hollywood scumbags that he uses animals to get fame and fortune. All of them do. All of them try to get fame, fortune, whatever, you name it. All of them do. It's just, they're all different personalities. They're all different ways of going about it, but they're all greedy. When it comes down to it, at the end of this documentary series, what I was thinking the whole time was, damn these poor animals. Damn these poor tigers, these chimpanzees. They got there's no glory in all this. They are the what's the word I'm saying? They're the victims. They're the victims of this whole crazy mess that these 3 people who have their own personal zoo, they are the victims at the end of the day, even if you are a Carol Baskin supporter. So Joe, let's get to Joe. All right, Joe is, I'll give him this, he's super ambitious. This guy is a flamboyant. He always says, he's always commenting how he's gay. He has tigers. He has his own zoo. In the beginning of this documentary series, this is how you feel bad for him, or this is how you sympathize with him, because they show you, the creation before. They show you beforehand the creation of this eccentric, lunatic kind of guy, but they show you the subtleness. They show you how he came to love big cats, exotic animals. They show you just see it in his eyes. Sometimes in interviews, when you look at him in his eyes, that's not an act. But there's other times, like when his technically his 3rd husband passed. You saw him cooking for everybody in Thanksgiving, and I'm going to be jumping around here and there, while talking about these 3 characters we have in here. They're characters. They're a character, but yet they're real people. It's insane. So you see him, mourning the loss, and yes, he's definitely mourning the loss of his his third husband. But was it Brandon? But you saw the act too, and they discussed that. They tell you like, yeah, he's kind of acting. He's doing all this work, and then he's over here crying. So there's a little bit of acting in there, but there's also he's a human being. Of course, he's feeling the loss of his husband, which I don't know if a lot of people know. I don't know. I can't remember the documentary series said it. I'm pretty sure they did. But he did have a first husband, but he ended up dying with HIV. So he did have a first husband, and then of course you have your second husband, with the one with the teeth. he has full teeth now, people. Okay, he has full teeth now, just to let you know. So this Joe, right? This Joe, he's done magic at one point. He's gone, he toured. He had Shaq over. He gave him a tiger. I think he gave him a couple tigers. But I know for sure he gave him a tiger. And then just like any kind of empire or any kind of character who you see going downhill, he exactly goes downhill. And it's because of one individual. I'm surprised he hasn't gone downhill, other than the fact that he hates this girl, this woman named Carol Baskins. And Carol Baskins has her own private zoo as well. And there's a difference. There's definitely a difference between these two, but yet they're very similar. They hold animals in cages, except one looks like a goddess, and the other one just shows his batshit craziness, right? So Carol Baskins, right? He absolutely loathes her throughout this documentary. He is either making videos, which he has his own web series. He did on YouTube. I don't know if there's any videos out in YouTube still. He'd had his own web series. This dude would talk so much shit to Carol Baskins. He would have videos straight up having a dummy and say, Carol Baskins, this is you, and then shoot the dummy. Shoot the dummy. This dude was shot a lot of guns throughout this documentary series. I just gotta say, at water most of the time, and he blew shit up. So this guy would make it's basically death threats on the web, and he didn't give a shit. He didn't care. He does not care. Of course, you can't charge anybody with that, but you making death threats, doesn't help your image. And at one point, he tried to run for president, and then he tried to run for governor. Like I said, ambitious as fuck. Ambitious. But his downfall was he partnered up with Jeff Lowe. Jeff Lowe is a scumbag too. Is a guy who he had a lot of charges in Vegas. He came over. He took over the zoo from Joe, because Joe went bankrupt fighting Carol. He went bankrupt fighting Carol on so much shit, man. This dude spent all his money, and then the scene where they had all the expired meat, that was a crazy ass scene, I gotta say. So Joe made a lot of mistakes by bringing in this Jeff guy. He eventually had a murder plot basically for Carol. That's how he got, there's a crazy shit happening in the documentary where he discussed murdering Carol with Jeff and Jeff's right-hand man. I can't think of the name on top of my head. He was paying this guy. He was going to pay this guy, I believe it was $4,000, $5,000. We only gave him $3,000 or $2,500. And the guy never did it. The guy just took his money. There's embezzlement when he was running for governor. Like, there's just so much shit with this Joe character. Now, Joe ends up, of course, if you've seen the documentary series, like I said, there's spoilers. I mean, you could just read it, honestly. He ends up going to jail. He ends up going to jail for the plot to murder Carol Baskins. But not only that, what got me was the animal cruelty. Because I read basically what happened to Joe before I saw the last episode. And the animal cruelty part was like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, what did he do exactly while I was watching the series up to that point? because he did have them in kind of smaller cages, and there was one scene where he fucking fired a gun and or he whipped the shit out of a tiger. He was making a video and that tiger was smelling his shoes. And then there's the whole thing where he thought like somebody put some some cologne or some shit like that on his shoes that made the tiger do that. But knowing that he took tigers out and took them, like somewhere in forest or whatever, with his right hand, not right hand man, but one of the workers he had, who he's in the documentary series, and he testified against Joe too. And knowing that Joe just killed tigers, no remorse, man, what a piece of shit. I mean, this guy, I do believe that at one point he did want a zoo. At one point he loved the animals that were there, but he said it himself in the documentary. There was one particular part where he had 2 chimpanzees and they were in cages. They didn't interact with each other for what, 5 years?
Come on.
And then when he finally has those 2 interact with each other, they're hugging, they're embracing, they're glad to see one another, to finally touch one another. And Joe himself tells him, maybe I did that. I did not give them the opportunity to, love each other, embrace each other. Was it my fault? I think it was my fault. Not, not in exact accurate words, but Joe at one point did like these animals, I think, but man, did his ego get bigger, and he made mistakes along the way. And a lot of people want Joe free. Yes, he did get kind of fucked over towards the end because Jeff ended up taking the zoo. Carol still wins. There's a lot of people saying like, why are these 2 mofos that in documentaries? One was a informant. Why didn't he get shit, in trouble? Why didn't Jeff get in trouble? Why is Joe the only one in prison? That's I agree. Why is Joe the only one in prison? But I'm not going to say Joe should be out of prison, because Joe, he did wrong and he needs to pay the price. Now, is it entertaining as hell what he does throughout the series? Hell yeah, it is fucking entertaining, because this dude is so eccentric. This guy does some crazy off the wall shit, and he knows he's playing for the camera. But you realize, like, yeah, this guy's a lunatic. Now let's go to Carol Baskins. Carol Baskins is another lunatic, and I'll tell you why she's a lunatic, and I'll tell you why you should not like her. She plays the part really, really well. I can see why Joe hates her. She plays the part of an innocent victim, not knowing basically having this whole thing about the animals need to be free. The animals need to have, it's all about the animals. It's all about animals. It's all about the animals. It's basically about me. That's what she's saying. She wants to be that face on the poster that's an animal activist, basically. That she's saying that she's caring for these animals, that she's doing right by these animals, by these tigers, by whatever she has. Okay? She inherits all this money from her missing first husband. This is the talk of the town. Did she murder him? Did she feed him to the tigers? As much as far-fetched, as much as I would brush it off as no, I don't think so. There's still a little bit of me saying, but this is Carol Baskins. She's batshit Baskins crazy. Okay. It could happen. I mean, this story has so many loops and turns. I see that she probably could. She probably did. There's a lot of course, her her missing husband's ex-wife, the letters. There's just this seeing him in the morning saying, I got to be up or get the trucks ready. I got to be early, going to Florida? Not Florida. I'm sorry. Costa Rica. And then he's missing. Just like that. And nobody has a clue where he's at. So And she walks. I thought what really hit me hard in this documentary series is how, okay, Joe pays his employees what, like $100 a week. So yeah, but he does bring everybody in, has a place to live, has a place to stay. These are his employees are kind of like a circus. They all need jobs. They all don't have anywhere to go, but he brings them in. He embraces their craziness because he's batshit crazy too. Then you got Doc Antle, who brings employees in. It's the same scenario. He's paying very little while they're working all day, every day. And not only that, he is really exploiting a human being. Like, he's really taking it up a notch by having a lot, mostly women, really having them dress really sexy and all this for his pleasure. Now, Carol Baskins, she has employees, quotations going on right there, but it's volunteer work, and she has a whole system of volunteer work. The shirt thing got me laughing so hard. These are people who worked with her for 5 years, and sometimes she doesn't even know who the hell they are. Sometimes that's the first time she finally meets them. There's a lot of employees, a lot of volunteers, but the volunteer game, that's where, I said, damn, she is abusing the shit out of that power. She don't need to pay anybody. She can have her little rosary thing on her head. She don't need to pay anything. She just needs to walk around and make videos and show how she's the good person. Yeah, in my mind, look what you're doing. You have all these people who are putting in all their time, all their efforts into your cause. Yet you're not doing anything for them. Show me her, like, even at least feeding every employee and knowing every employee's name. If I was in that position, I would know every damn employee's name, because these are people who are volunteering to do free labor, and it's insane. It's insane. So I could see that the points that Joe and Doc had on that subject. So Carol Baskins, she is a very shady woman to me. There's that gut feeling where there's something off about her. She plays this role really well, and she hates this documentary. She hates how she was portrayed in this documentary, and reasonably so. I mean, I would too, but the way she rolls her eyes, the way she says it's crazy, the way she goes after Joe, those two going at it is so petty. So petty. So Carol Baskins, at the end of this documentary series, nothing's happened to her per se, but they reopened the investigation of her missing first husband. And I don't know if anything's going to come out of it. It's a very old case. You got a lot of people come, you don't know if the tips are true or not. Whoever's handling the case, they're getting tips. Everybody wants to help out with this case, and just everybody just so into this whole these people, these people's lives are now everybody wants to get involved in. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I hope I want to say Carol Baskins didn't do it, but like I said, there's a lot of twists and turns that always happen with these particular people, so we'll see. Now, the last person I'm going to be talking about is Doc Antle. Now, Doc is another guy where I feel like he's definitely using his power. This guy's been in the game for a long, long, long time. Joe has been, that's pretty much Joe's teacher. Doc knows what to say, what to do, and how to hide. Now, is he, now I'm going to butcher this. Forgive me, I'm Mexican. Euthanize. Or is he euthanizing these tigers? Is he getting rid of these tigers after a certain point of their lives? This is where I think it's true. In my gut feeling, I think this guy is killing tigers before they are even, he's not setting them free. He's not selling them. He's killing them somewhere in his little world he's at. And he has some land. He has a big ass elephant too. Okay. And he has workers who are committed to him and will do whatever he says. So what does that sound like? It kind of sounds like a cult. It sounds like he has a cult over there. One of his ex-workers who've been there. I mean, I've her story about how she worked there for so many years, and hearing rumblings about Doc knew where the tigers were going. That's all they need to know, that he knew where they were going. So, and you could just see the way Doc talks and how his bravado is, and body language. In this series, I've noticed a lot of body language with these three people. They all have that certain body language where you see that they're sincere, but yet you could see they're devious. You could see that they are lying or they're just nervous. Doc seems to be the more... He's got that poker face. He has a poker face. Joe don't got a poker face. Carol has somewhat of a poker face. But Doc is the poker face, where you think he's saying the right things, he's doing the right stuff, but you have that feeling. There's sometimes where you just step back and you see the whole picture and you go, wait, whoa, hang on, I don't know. Something's going on here. And usually most of the time it's going on. There's not too much to talk about Doc. He got raided at one point. I did not hear anything or not read anything that convicted him or anything. Like, he's still, doing his thing. He's still working probably in Hollywood. He still has a zoo. The only one that doesn't have a zoo is Joe, who's in bars. Jeff has his zoo, but then Jeff was in partnership with this guy. I believe his last name was Stark. But that had a falling out, so Jeff is like scrambling basically. So something's gonna happen to that Jeff Lowe guy soon, because that guy's so super shady. That guy should have got the brick wall should have fell on top of him, and it will eventually. So, Tiger King. What I took away from this is these three people. These three characters, like everybody else. This is my opinion on all three of them. This is what I think. I feel when I watch this series. I feel like something's going to happen later on in the future, either between Carol Baskins or Doc. I feel like they're going to get their come up. Now they have the light shine on them, and they think it's all glorious, but it's not. Once you have that light on you, you can't move left, right, forward, backwards. That spotlight is following you wherever you go and following your movements. Just like Joe. They were following Joe. So, Tiger King, if you've seen it, I mean, of course you've seen it if we're discussing about it, little spoilers here and there. I heard about this series and I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And boy, did it blow my mind. I think you should just watch the series if you haven't seen it. I think, I will definitely be talking more about this, but I want to see what happens in the future with a lot of these three people. What's going to happen with the Carol Baskins case? What's going to happen to Doc? Is he in fact killing animals and just kind of burying them? What's going to happen with Joe? Joe's going to still be locked up, but this lawsuit could lead to a lot more people getting pinned down. Getting locked up like Jeff Lowe. We'll see how that goes. This is a crazy documentary, and it's opened my eyes to the crazy ass Florida zoo world. I gotta say though, there's this one drug lord, ex-drug lord, I should say, who was in a documentary series. I can't remember his name, but man, was he the most calmest and the most? I feel like that guy was the less douchebaggy of a person than. Of the main leads. I forgot what the drug lord's guy's name was, but of course he says he was pretty much Tony Montana in Scarface, and this guy has exotic pets. The one interesting part is a lot of these, especially like Carol Baskins, Doc, Joe, anybody who has been interviewed in here, they first start out with loving these animals, but in the end game, the animals are the ones that get hurt. they get sold off. They're back in other zoos. They don't go back to. They can't go back to the wildlife because some of them are bred. So very interesting. Very interesting how we start off somewhere and then we end up somewhere else. So thank you guys for listening. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We'll see what happens in the future with all this chaotic mess, and when that happens, I'll be talking about it. But if you haven't seen Tiger King, you need to watch Tiger King documentary series. It's absolutely bananas, pun intended. So check it out, let me know, and you guys have a good rest of your day.